Hey guys, Nick here, and welcome to my review of the brand new DC film Aquaman. For those of you who may or may not have noticed, there is a slight change of layout here as far as my background goes. For those of you who may or may not know, I posted a video about this a while ago, and I've talked about it briefly on the DC Films podcast. And granted, this isn't related to anything I normally talk about because this is actually a life thing. As you can see, the crib behind me. I am expecting a baby girl. My wife is about 8.5 months pregnant now. So I have about another month or so left. So for those of you who are like, oh, like, what's that in the background? It is a crib. So I have a daughter coming, and I'm really excited. And I just wanted to throw that out there before I get started in this review. But yeah, so Aquaman. So I'm recording this the day that it premieres, or at least the night it premieres. So this is Thursday, or December 20th, and a lot of people have actually already seen this movie because this movie has had different release dates internationally, and then it had the Amazon Prime event on the 15th. So a lot of people have already seen this movie. A lot of fans have, and it's gotten a lot of love from DCEU fans. And for the most part, a lot of critics enjoy it. It is getting somewhat mixed reviews. Not to the extent of obviously like a Batman v Superman, Man of Steel, or any of those, So my thoughts on the movie. Obviously, this is a spoiler-free review, so I'm not going to be going into details in terms of like plot points or certain characters or anything like that. I will give my overall thoughts as a spoiler-free review goes, and then I will post a spoiler review probably either today as well or tomorrow, being Friday. And then if you guys listen to the DC Films podcast, we will do a spoiler discussion probably sometime next week after Christmas. Because a lot of people won't be able to see the movie right away, and at least in the podcast, so probably won't be able to see it until either Christmas or like around Christmas. So I'm gonna at least trying to give everyone the chance to see it before we all talk about it. So you guys definitely stay tuned for that. If you guys haven't already seen on my channel, we did have a brief discussion on Aquaman and Artyom's thoughts on it. Artyom from our DC Films podcast had seen the movie, so he gave his review of it while we did one of our most recent episodes. And then our most recent episode featured myself and Fatma talking about Aquaman. She had seen the movie. I still had not seen the movie at that point, so she gave her own spoiler-free review of the film. So you guys can check those both out on my channel. They're both there in the DC Films podcast playlist. So now here's my review. So I got to see the movie about a day early because my wife, Amy, and I've mentioned this before because she works for a hospital, and her hospital, for a lot of big release movies, have early screenings of it for their employees. And so my wife had bought tickets for myself and my little brother to see Aquaman last night. She's not really into big superhero movies, really. She mostly has done this stuff like this because I wanted to see them. So she skipped out on this one, and so it was just me and my brother who went. I loved Aquaman so much. I've been talking about this on my social media, on my Twitter, and on my Vero and Tumblr and stuff. Aquaman is a visually stunning masterpiece. I was actually just talking with Fatma a little bit ago. As of right now, after only seeing it once, it's like this close to being as good as Man of Steel for me. Aquaman, just the visuals and the story and the characters, and just it had pretty much everything I could have wanted in an Aquaman film. The characters were great. The score was fantastic. The villains were great. Arthur's character, Miro. Oh my god, Miro was like my favorite character in the entire movie. The third act, a lot of people will talk about the third act being amazing. The third act is incredible. Every second of it from beginning to it was just the entire movie from beginning to end. I loved it. There were a couple of moments that I'll get into just going right now because they're really nitpicky things. Just a couple of jokes that didn't land for me. And I do wish they delved a little more into Arthur's biracial. I don't know, not necessarily heritage, but his biracial identity a little more than they did. Because this movie kind of gets kickstarted into the plot like fairly quickly. So they don't spend a ton of time there, but they do flashback to younger Arthur, which like all those scenes I really enjoyed. I just wish they spent a little more time delving into the biracial aspect of Arthur as a character, a little more. Again, nitpicky, but that's it's not the end of the world. And another thing, just a couple of jokes didn't land for me personally. But other than that, I would normally say this for the end of the review, but I would probably say as of right now, I would probably give this film like a 9.25 out of 10. Like, it is that good. Like, if I see this again, it may or like stay or get higher. I literally, like, the entire movie, I had such a big grin on my face. one of my favorite movie-going experiences probably since Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. Batman v Superman and Man of Steel are different movie-going experiences for me in terms of enjoyment. Batman v Superman, I think, is still like my favorite comic book film and film of all time. Man of Steel is really up there. As far as the enjoyment goes, I enjoy Man of Steel more as a film, as an experience. I enjoy Batman v Superman more as a whole film and as a whole experience. It doesn't necessarily make me like happy and giddy the entire time, but obviously like I love Batman v Superman to death, as well as Man of Steel. Aquaman is the closest that this franchise has gotten back to that point of Man of Steel for me. Just the way that they treated the characters, and like a lot of fans were worried just about the franchise in general, not necessarily Aquaman, because of what happened with Justice League and how Warner Brothers treated that and the whole Zack Snyder situation. So going in, a lot of fans were a little trepidatious. In general, I think the public is just trepidatious about DC films because they still have a lot of negative reception to them. For better or worse, as a DCEU fan, like I have to acknowledge that like, a lot of people don't like the DC films. A lot of people enjoy the Marvel movies more, and that's fine. It sucks as a fan because I wish people could enjoy the DCEU as much as I do. And again, that's fine and dandy, whatever. But just Aquaman itself was it's such a great movie-going experience. Again, James Wan kicked it out of the park. Knocked it out of the park. He did such an amazing job directing this film. There were definitely moments where like you definitely felt like this is a James Wan film. Especially there's a whole sequence with the trench that definitely has James Wan written all over it because obviously he's known for horror and has a very like horror aspect to it. Jason Momoa did such an amazing job, and Amber Heard as Mira. They carried this movie so incredibly well. And Patrick Wilson as Orm, I think I can say this was like a Michael Shannon as Zod level performance for me, and to me that he's like one of the best villains I've ever seen on screen. Michael Shannon anyway as Zod. Orm gets up there. Orm is such a not necessarily relatable. You understand why he's doing what he's doing. Not like obviously you don't like is excited with him, but like you understand like his point of view coming from someone who's living in the oceans and like he is angry at the surface for all like, the things they've done to pollute the ocean and how the mankind has really like destroyed themselves in many aspects. And so like I understand that and his anger and hatred towards Arthur and why he feels the way he feels. Again, you don't agree with him, but you understand to an extent. And Patrick Wilson did an amazing job. And honestly, I think Patrick Wilson and James Wan are really an underrated actor and director team. Because this is their third franchise now working together. So it started out with the Insidious franchise, moving to the Conjuring franchise, and now the Aquaman franchise. Granted, I don't know how much of a role Orm is going to have in the future films, without spoiling anything. But I do think that Patrick Wilson and James Wan work amazing together, and it shows in this film. Like he trusts him enough as an actor, James does, and gives him so much great content to work with. Orm was such a layered and amazing villain. I loved every second of him on screen. Again, Mira. Even in the reshot Justice League scene in Justice League of the whole air bubble thing, even though at first I thought that was Zach, it was Joss. Especially going into this movie and the way that they talk underwater and stuff, that was obviously a Joss scene. Because Joss probably just didn't have the technical or honestly creative capabilities to do an actual water scene like that. I loved Mira in that, and Mira was incredible in this. I loved Amber Heard so much. She did such an amazing job in this role. I hope she gets all the love and support she can get from this film, because a lot of Johnny Depp fans hate her, and because there's a whole drama with her and Johnny Depp because Johnny Depp is an abusive piece of shit. Like I don't. Like, you can send me all the articles you want saying, like, oh, Amber Heard did this, and she's this and that. Like, fuck off. Like, it's... I'm not going to get into that. I side with Amber. I don't side with Johnny fucking Depp. That's my stance on that. So I'm just saying, in general, there's a lot of hate directed towards Amber Heard because of the whole Johnny Depp situation. And I 100% side with her. But going back into the movie, I think that she did such an amazing job. Mira is such, like, a warm character, and her relationship with Arthur throughout the entire film feels really organic and fresh, and like if she's a very feminist character, and this isn't like Wonder Woman where like they're trying to tell you this is a feminist character. She just is a feminist character. And I think she does an amazing job in that. The women in this film, even though there aren't necessarily a ton of women, I think they're all powerful in their own ways. And Nicole Kidman, for the bits that she's in as Atlanta, you really feel her performance as well. She did an amazing job for what she was able to do, and I was really into her character, and I wish I could see more of her character. And again, without spoiling anything, I love Nicole Kidman as Atlanta. The visuals I talked about, the third act, Jason Momoa did such an amazing job carrying this film, and carrying the humor and the levity and the seriousness and the serious moments. He did such an amazing job of really bringing this live action interpretation of Arthur Curry and Aquaman to the big screen in ways that we haven't seen before. Because we've seen him in a pilot that from Justin Hartley, who was from Smallville. He played him in a pilot like way back when, like 12 years ago. And we also saw Aquaman himself on Smallville, played by Alan Ritchson, who now plays Hawk on DC Universe's Titans. They both did great for their respective versions of the character. But with Jason Momoa in this version of Aquaman in the DCEU, he's done an amazing job in this film in particular. Just from his look to the way he carries himself as Arthur, and you really sympathize with him as a hero and as more of like a reluctant hero. He doesn't necessarily want to be like a superhero, but he takes on the burden of being of two worlds and like and his own struggles with that, and taking the burden of like having to be king of like, and his struggle with his brother and Atlantis itself, and like what that means for him and his relationships. Like, it makes for a really interesting and layered character. And I've talked about his his biracial identity for Jason Momoa as part of Aquaman. I still think that's an amazing part of the character that they briefly touched on in this film. Again, like I do wish that they touched on it a little more. But again, nitpicky. Jason Momoa did an amazing job, and I hope he gets so many more roles based on this film. I know I'm repeating myself, but he did just a fantastic job. What else? There are definitely a lot of surprises in this film. Oh yeah, Yahya Abdul-Mateen as Black Manta was amazing as well. I say amazing a lot, but that's just how I feel. Like Yahya Abdul-Mateen did an amazing job. I can't wait to see more of Black Manta. And his rivalry with Arthur. Like, it feels like it's that comic book tension, that comic book like rivalry there that and like you really feel it in this film. And that's one of the things that I think James Wan did incredibly well too, was their dynamic and their hate towards not necessarily hate, but just their just dynamic in general was so well handled. I loved it. From the set pieces again to the action, it was all amazing. All the different kingdoms of Atlantis, where there was the fishermen or the trench or I can't remember, there's other ones I can't remember the names of off the top of my head, but they were all handled really great, and visually they were all stunning. The fight sequences, the battle sequences, all of it was so directed incredibly well. This movie was again nothing short of fantastic for me. I really need to see it again, and I hope I can see it in IMAX at some point, because this movie is just a visual epic. Like it really, like a lot of people describe it as Lord of the Rings meets Star Wars meets Indiana Jones, and I can definitely see that. I haven't really seen much of Lord of the Rings, so I can't comment on that, but it definitely does feel like Star Wars meets Indiana Jones, but honestly I think better. Like, I seriously had such a great time in watching this film. I can't wait to see it again. I can't wait to talk about it in depth with spoilers on my next video, or in our spoiler talk for the podcast. So those are my thoughts on Aquaman, and like I said earlier, I do give it at this point a 9.25 out of 10. I can't wait to watch it again. I can't wait to talk about it with you guys. For those of you who have seen the film, please keep spoilers out of the comments for now. But sound your spoiler-free thoughts in the comment section below. And what do you think of my review? Do you guys agree with me? Is there things you guys didn't agree with me about? Sound your thoughts below. Give this video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button for all the other content I put up on my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, have a good one.